Welcome to the Purls and Polish podcast. My name is Rachel and I'm coming to you from just outside Sacramento, California. You can find me on Instagram and Ravelry, and links to those are in my website, which are linked below. I'll also be linking any makers or designers that I talk about in today's podcast. So let's get to it. It is October 2022. I know we missed the September podcast. Life got busy. So I had recorded one mid-September, and by the time I got it edited and ready to put out, it was already the end of the month. So I figured we'd just wait and we'll just do a slightly longer one for October. So a couple things that I finished over the last month, a couple things that I've started, a couple things that I've put to the side. So let's just get to it. Starting off, I have my September socks for my year of socks hosted by Shop La Mercerie. I know I probably say that wrong, and I'm sorry if I am. But anyways, they've been doing year of socks. So every month a new dyer is featured, and they have a sock set that they dyed for that month. So I've been doing this all year and I have really enjoyed it. So much that I've already planned out my year of socks for next year. And as we get closer to the end of the year, I'll talk more about that. But anyways, September was amazing. The dyer was Sunday Fibres, and she's been kind of laying low on Instagram lately. I believe she just had a baby, so that takes a lot of time and energy. But the socks that she did was absolutely beautiful. So I finished my socks, and let's see, I'm right by a window, so I don't know how much she'll blow out. But they are gorgeous, and I love them. The pattern I used is called String of Lights by Sock Witchery, and a lot of different makers that I know really love this pattern. Kay from Crazy Sock Lady, Amy from Amy's Knotted Knits, my friend Katrina, who's Crafting Euphoria on Instagram. They've all done this pattern multiple times and really enjoy it. So I needed to do this pattern. I wanted some sort of texture since this is very low contrast yarn. So the colors are muted. They're kind of within the same palette. You do get kind of different versions of gold and taupes and creams and browns, little hints of like blue-gray in there. But I wanted something that would give enough texture but still let the kind of yarn color just show through really well. So this was a great pattern. It was super fast, very easy to follow. I didn't have to have notes with me everywhere, so I blew through these socks in like 15 days. They were a joy to knit. So I'll definitely be knitting this pattern again. If you haven't knit this pattern, definitely get it and knit it up. You'll really enjoy it. So anyways, I finished my socks pretty fast in the month, and the two sweaters that I'm currently working on, I have just not felt motivated to work on them. I don't know why. I just don't feel like it. And I finished the body to both of them. I'm almost finished with the body on one. The other body is definitely done. I just need short sleeves on one sweater and long sleeves on the other, but I have just not felt motivated to pick it up. So I know I wanted to knit 8 sweaters this year. That's not gonna happen, and I'm okay with that. I think the one thing I've learned this year as far as like my making goes is you can make all the plans you want, but sometimes they don't work out, and that's okay. So already thinking about next year and kind of what I would like to do for my year as far as crafting goes. So I'm definitely going to change kind of my perspective on my garment knitting and what that will look like in the new year. So those have been on hold. So after I finished these socks, I just had kind of just time on my hands and nothing in particular to work on or that I wanted to work on. We were in Mendocino, which is about 4 hours north of Sacramento, for a wedding, and my parents stayed a couple extra days, and there was a little yarn shop in Mendocino, Fort Bragg area that my mom stopped by, and she bought me some yarn. I did not buy it, she bought it for me, so I'll show you that. Okay, so in this shop, my mom found this yarn called Lang Twin Socks, and it's one big ball of yarn, and it has a pattern to it, and you have enough for 2 pairs of socks. And in the midway point, there's like a bit of undyed yarn, so you know where to stop and where to start. So I've done kind of self-patterned yarn before, and I liked it. It was fine, but it stressed me out because the socks didn't look exactly the same. And for some reason, I just couldn't handle it. So when I thought about casting on these socks, I thought about if I want to actually start socks or maybe do something different. So I decided I was going to do a hat. And I wasn't just going to do a hat, I was going to do a Musselburgh hat. So the Musselburgh hat came out, I want to say 1 to 2 years ago. Great pattern. Great for any sort of lonely skein that you have, because it is written so that you could use any skein of yarn for any head size. So it's for babies to adults, at any gauge, and be able to knit a hat. So it will tell you if you're using this kind of yarn on this kind of needles for this size head, this is how many stitches you want to increase to. So I love how versatile it is, that you can kind of, it is literally one size fits all. So I'll show you my hat. This is my Musselburgh, and it's very big because I have not folded it inside out. But this is kind of the pattern of the sock. So you have the red, and then this like gray ombre, this royal blue, this brown ombre, then this like dark teal, blue ombre, and then it starts the color pattern again. So there are 4 color repeats. And with the Musselburgh, you knit this huge tube, and then you put like a toe on one end, toe on the other, and you turn it inside out. Or not really inside out, you stick one end in the other. Let's see. This has been drying, so it's nice and set, so I haven't done this to it yet. But you stick the ends in like that. And then you've got this reversible hat. So you've got like this, and then if you need to, you could turn it inside out. And you've got it like so. Which is nice because it's, stick this on real quick. So you could have this like long floppy hipster hat, or you can roll the brim and have like more of a beanie type hat as well. It's still pretty warm here, so I'm gonna take this off. But anyways, I love the idea of this hat, and I love how it turned out. I love these like 80 colors, early 90s colors. And this is all the yarn that was left. I think it's like 1 gram, 2 grams. I literally knit to the very end of my skein. And I loved that I have very little waste. So Musselburgh is linked below. Definitely another great pattern. If you have yarn that just doesn't really have a project to it and you just have a single skein, this is your project. I loved it so much. That's actually the second hat I had cast on. I had casted on the Musselburgh with a different yarn, and I didn't bring it with me, which has not gotten as much work done on it because I got a little obsessive with this one. So anyways, breezed through that one. And then I needed something else to work on. So project number 3. This is not finished, but this kind of leads into my works in progress. Okay, so project number 3. This is from Apple Tree Knits, and I'll kind of show you the label. So this yarn company ended up closing down. So I had kind of followed Apple Tree a little bit. Some other people that I follow online are big fans of Apple Tree, and for lots of reasons, the shop had to close. So they were doing a blowout. And this was before I started my no-buy year. So this is totally fine. But I was able to snag a skein. And the reason I bought this skein of yarn is only because of the fiber. So this is from their copper sock set. It's 88% superwash merino, 12% copper infused nylon. Typically with sock yarn, you get like an 80-20 blend, 75-25, 70-30 is pretty high. But I'd say 80-20 or 75-25 are your most common blends. So that's 80% wool, 20% nylon. And the nylon is there for strength because socks get a lot of wear and tear. So you have that strength in them so that they last longer. So this yarn has copper in it. I'm not sure what they mean by copper infused, but it comes in a little cake like this. And this is blowing out a bit, but goes from red to like an orange, to a yellow, to a light blue, to a dark blue. And you can, I don't know if you can tell, but it is like pretty kinky. I don't really know like what other word. It's not like a straight piece of yarn like you would see in any of my other projects. And the reason is, let's see, I don't know how much this is going to pick up, but you see how it's kind of like crinkled here. So it's so when you have applied yarn, let me rewind. Backstory. Before I started knitting, picked up knitting again, I started spinning my own yarn. And because I was spinning yarn, then I started knitting with it. So my background is actually more in how to spin yarn and how to apply it and why you would do certain things with it and how would you use it in projects. So I learned that in my spinning, I really liked 3-plied yarns. So 3 pieces of string kind of all twisted together because it made it very round, balanced. So it was just all one kind of single piece. You did not get this like kinky springy thing that you have here. You get this kind of texture, and there's a time and place for a yarn that has that kind of texture when you have yarns that are different sizes from each other that are twisted around like this. So this yarn in particular has 2 wool plies, and then the 3rd ply is a thinner, it's the nylon, the copper infused nylon, and then they twisted them together. Typically with sock yarn, you have, when they're spinning the wool, they blend the nylon and the wool together, and then they spin it and make the yarn. This was constructed a little differently. And because of the way it's constructed, it just has that very like springy, crepe-like texture to it. This is not a texture that you typically find in sock yarns. We'll say that much. This is not a texture I typically look for in my yarns of any kind. This is not a texture I would choose to make in my yarns. And I didn't know that it was going to be spun like this. I was under the impression that the wool and the nylon copper were blended first and then spun. So this is very new to me and it's very different. And I struggled a little bit because this isn't correct, which really there's no right or wrong to it. It's just different. So anyways, I got over myself and I started knitting. So I knit my first sock, or rather this is half of my first sock. So I started from the middle and I started at the blue and went down to my gusset increases. So I'm gonna increase here and then put in my heel and then keep going up. So I don't know how much the camera's gonna pick it up, but it's textured. It definitely has a texture feel to it, which I think will be great when I like actually wear them. But it does feel different in my hand when I'm working in it. So that's my first sock. And they actually give you 2 cakes of yarn. So I started the second sock and I only got to the toe, but I'm starting this one on the red side. And so I'm gonna go red to orange to yellow. So I haven't decided yet if I'm gonna put my heel in. My 2 options that I'm looking at are, I can either put my heel in a blue heel on this sock and a red heel on this sock, or I'll take the blue from this one and stick it on the blue sock and then take the red from the other one and stick it on the red sock. I'm still thinking about it. So I'm gonna knit up my red sock to my heel point and then decide, do I want blue sock, blue heel, red sock, red heel, or blue sock, red heel, red sock, blue heel? Super confusing. And then what kind of heel do I want? Do I want a short row heel or do I do an afterthought heel? These are the things that keep me up at night. What kind of heel do I want to put in my socks? So that's a project that's kind of just on the wings, just kind of happening, being picked up as the spirit moves me, which I imagine these will actually get done this month because of my next project. It's going by so quickly. So let me grab that one. Okay, so October, obviously, new month, new year of socks. So I started these yesterday. And these are from Treehouse Knits. And Treehouse actually did the Cocoa series last year, which was a huge hit. I tried 3 different times to get something out of the collection and it sold out so fast. And I'm so happy that it did so well. So I was really excited for Treehouse. But this is called October and this is on her Sequoia, that's blowing up. So this is called October and this is on her Sequoia sock set. So 80% superwash merino, 20% nylon. These fibers are blended together so they look beautiful. And she called it October. And this is literally everything I'd ever want in the month of October. Being that I live in California, it is still like 80 to 90 degrees outside. The mornings are getting a little crisp, but it's still warm. Like you could legitly wear shorts all day and be fine. We don't have fall here. We have summer, less summer, and then maybe a winter, but I'm so over it. So anyways, I started my sock and I love it. This is pulling from it. These colors are amazing. She totally nailed this one. So for this sock pattern, I'm trying to do a different sock pattern every month. This one I'm doing the DRK Everyday Socks. So those are by Andrea Mowry, and these are a 2x2 rib sock that are started toe up. So here's the toe. We're going up this way towards the heel. The rib is on the front and the back. So typically when I do a rib sock, the bottom of the foot, like the part that hits the ground, doesn't have the ribbing, but this pattern does have it. So I'm not going to rewrite the wheel. I'm going to do it how she says. So I'm doing the ribbing on the bottom of the foot as well. And then it has a fleagle heel, which I've done a fleagle heel once, maybe twice, with kind of mixed results. So I've done it twice. So I am ready to try the Flegel heel again to see if I like it. But the Flegel heel is you work, you know, up to where you start your increases like you would for a gusset. Okay, so the camera battery died. I thought I had it charged enough and clearly did not. So I'm on the floor now. I plugged in my camera. We're gonna keep going. This is fine. So as I was saying, Flegel heel. You do increases and then you do some knitting in the back, and it's just a different heel that gives you lots of room in the ankle for your foot. So I'm gonna try this one again. We'll see how it goes. If you follow me on Instagram, I posted pictures about this sock, and I was so excited because I had knit the whole foot yesterday. I was at my parents' house, so the kids were just super entertained, so I just had lots of time to knit this sock, and I was so excited because I thought I would get it done in, you know, 2 or 3 days and be done with my October socks before, you know, the first full week of October. When I went to start my heel last night, I realized I read the pattern wrong. You're supposed to do a 2x2 rib around the whole sock, and I read the pattern as a 2x2 rib on the first side of the sock, and then another 2x2 rib on the back side of the sock. The problem with that being, this is a 60 stitch count, not 64 stitches. So you wouldn't think those 4 stitches would make that big of a deal, but when you're doing a 2x2 rib, it does, because you end on a knit stitch. And so I had on the outsides 4 knits, which again is like, okay, big deal. But then when you do your increases for your Flegel heel, you're increasing in the pattern. So if you read the pattern right, you would still have that 2x2 rib look to it. Unless you read it wrong like I did, and then you don't have the 2x2 rib. So then it was, I could either like rewrite the pattern and just try and figure it out and just do everything backwards. But I was like, why would I do that? Why would I put myself through that? So I took it all apart, and it was heartbreaking of like, this is 4 to 5 hours worth of work gone in about 5 minutes. But at the same time, it's one of those, if I'm going to do this, I need to do it right, and I need to do it right the first time. And I'm not going to spend a ton of time rewriting the heel and then having to take it out if it still doesn't work. So it was hard, but it was totally worth it. So I started the sock again last night. I did the first 20 rounds. It won't take me that long to kind of catch up. And I have 31 days. That's the other part. I have 30, well, today's the 2nd. So I have 30 days to knit a pair of socks. I'm not going to kill myself over one day. It's just not worth it. It was sad though. So anyways, those are my October socks. They will come along beautifully. And we make mistakes, and that just taught me I need to read the pattern. Most of the time I read my pattern before I even start knitting, and I didn't. I still haven't read the whole thing through. So the second sock will be better. But anyways, all that to say, October will be a fun month. For my sweaters, my new goal is to just get them done. I'm just over it. Just get them done and be done with it. I know I mentioned earlier that I'm already thinking about next year's kind of plans. So for next year, I'm thinking about doing, I know for sure I will do the yarn club I've been getting from Pasley Knits, her yarn club for the gods. So I've been saving those. I haven't knit any of them yet. So I'm going to use those for my year of socks. And then as far as like my garments, most of the sweater lots that I have right now are DK, or Sport, so a thicker yarn. So those go by quicker. So I'm just gonna pick one and I'm just gonna knit it and enjoy the process. And when it gets done, it gets done. And if it doesn't, it doesn't. And I'm not gonna set a timeline. I realized after doing summer sock camp for 2 years, I really enjoy knitting socks for summer sock camp, and I can't really focus on anything else because I am like focused on socks. So I'm not gonna try and do sweaters during the 3 months of summer sock camp. So like I said, we'll figure that out. I'm still kind of thinking that over. I have 3 months, but yeah, I've got plans. Speaking of yarn and yarn stashes, I am, as of yesterday, 11 weeks without buying any yarn, which does not sound like a lot, but a couple big like yarn releases have come out. Explore Knits had like 1 or 2. Woolberry had at least 1. Coast to Coast Yarn has 1 today. Who else had some big ones? I think Olive and Olivia had 1. And Jador, I think, also had 1. So like all these yarn shops that I follow that I really love have had yarn collections come out, and I didn't buy anything. And I usually do. So this is a big deal for me. So I am 11 weeks in of not buying anything. So, of course, all of this was possible through my little sticker chart that I got through, what's it called? Imperfect Inspiration. They specifically design things for people with ADHD, which I have not been diagnosed with ADHD. I don't think I have it. Sometimes I wonder, but for the most part, I don't think I have ADHD. But some of the stuff that they have is just brilliant in general. So, you know, we use sticker charts for kids because it's a visual reminder of like, what's your goal? What are you working towards? What are the short-term rewards that you get? And what are the big rewards that you're working towards? So it's the same idea, but for adults. And they have a little sticker that you scratch off and has a little saying on the underside of the sticker. So they have a mild language one, which is the one I have. They have a spicy language one, and they have like a super spicy language. So I got the mild language because I have kids at home and one of them is learning how to read, and I do not need her repeating things that she's learned how to read that are not school appropriate. I love it, but it's not around my kids. So it's been really helpful to just kind of stay on track of like, I'm not buying anything. And if I don't buy anything, I get this reward after so many weeks. So I'm definitely going to use that for the year of 2023. I'm not going to buy anything. Now, if someone brings me back a souvenir, or I happen to ask nicely for someone to buy me something, I've already sent a little wish list to my sister, that's different. But I myself am not buying anything for 2023. I've said it here. It's in the record. Let the record reflect. No buy 2023. And if you guys want to join me in this challenge, like, let's do it. Let's hold each other accountable and not buy anything. And if you fall off the wagon, that's totally fine. Nothing wrong with that. But yeah, it's been kind of nice to like, I'm going to work through my stash. I have so many yarns from dyers that I really enjoy and really love their work that I want to knit through. And I think that's why my Make 8 sweaters just had that like underlying stress to it, was because I felt like I had to get through these sweaters as quickly as possible because I have so many sweater lots and I'm going to run out of time. And it's one of those, if you stop buying yarn, you'll have time to work with what you have. And if you have a large stash, then that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. I just don't have room for a very large stash, so I have to keep mine under control. That's all the yarn talk I've got. As far as things that I'm reading, I started at the end of July the Harry Potter series. I go through that every couple years. You guys know, I love Harry Potter. I love the characters. I love the story. I love how complicated things can be. I love how Lord Voldemort always waited until the end of the school year to, do his evil plan because, education is important. So it's been nice going through it again as an adult, and just picking up on little things that I would have missed as a child. So I'm on book 6, and the latest book by Naomi Novik just came out, and I want to start that series all over again so I can read the third and final book and have just a continuation of the story instead of trying to remember what happened in the first 2 books. But I need to finish this series I'm currently working on. And in November, there's a book that I read every November. That's also, that's coming up soon too. So I need to hustle on that. I do audiobooks, which has been lovely because I don't have to sit and read. I love reading, but I'm busy, and it's nice to be able to listen to my book while I'm driving or folding laundry or doing dishes or knitting. So audiobooks are my jam right now. As far as what I'm watching, I have been watching the new Lord of the Rings series on Amazon, and I've been watching House of the Dragon on HBO, and I started Game of Thrones over just so I can kind of remember all the storylines. Game of Thrones, I struggle with that one sometimes. Just the first season was very shock and awe. The rest of them were not as bad. But there are definitely parts where let me just fast forward this. I'm over you torturing this poor person. Let's get past this. So House of the Dragon hasn't been like that as much, which I enjoy. So been enjoying that series. And then I started the series called Shadowhunters. No, The Mortal Instruments. Or the Shadowhunters, something like that. Is based off of the book series by Cassandra Clare. And the first book was called... What was the first book called? I don't even remember. But anyways, it's her Shadowhunter series. With Clary and Jace and Simon and Alec and Isabel. So I've watched the show before, and it definitely takes some liberties that are different than the book, which is fine. But I'm kind of a purist. So Cassandra Clare has this universe that she's created where there are people who are part angel who've been given this heavenly mandate to keep the world safe from demons, and then you have vampires and werewolves and fairies, and they're all live among us. So it's a teen series, but I enjoy it. So she has kind of that main series, and then she has a couple offshoots. So there was a series of set in Victorian London, and then those characters' children have their own little series, and then after that main City of Glass, I think. No, City of Bones. Something like that. After that original series, there's 1 or 2 after that. So I've been reading those. I'll probably read that series again. Another book is coming out soon. I'm on the pre-order for it. So when that comes out, I'll reread books. Like I said, I like to know and remember the whole story as it's happening. But yeah, that's kind of what I've been up to. October doesn't have a whole ton. we're just kind of getting through the year. We don't do a whole ton for Halloween, but you know, it's not really our thing, and that's fine. And then just getting ready for the busy season with Thanksgiving and Christmas. So yeah, hopefully the weather is starting to cool down wherever you are in the world. And that you are finding time to rest and recharge. Now that school is underway and before the holidays. And I hope you enjoy whatever it is that you're working on. And I will see you guys in November.